My friends, I'm asking for your feedback or opinions after this video because maybe at least once a year, I try and do an upload talking about what I've got on my sample wish list, which is separate to what I have on my actual perfume wish list, which are bottles that I've tried and tested and fallen in love with, and I've put them on a list for me to purchase at some point in time. But at the same time, I'm always curious about sampling perfumes, and that curiosity generally stems from things I see, watch, read, or listen to via social media in the fragrance world. So I'm going to talk about, I think, 4 or 5 perfumes that I have heard a lot about, and for slightly varying reasons, I really want to smell. So I'm going to start off with a perfume from a brand that's now been around for a few years, and that is Strangelove NYC. And all the compositions, as far as I am aware, are composed by Christophe Laudermiel. And basically, every time I see stuff posted on social media about this brand and these fragrances, it's almost universally rated very well. The prices are a little bit eye-watering for me, but that in itself never stops me wanting to smell something. I might smell something and still decide, well, there's no way I'm paying that much money for that, or I might go against the grain and think, well, this is actually worth going over my perfume budget. Anyway, the one that really has got my attention from Strangelove is Melt My Heart. And unusually for me, it is because of a note breakdown that I wouldn't normally gravitate towards to. And there's a couple of listed notes in this perfume that of themselves are not normally something that I would gravitate towards to in most perfumes. Iris, this combination of iris and cocoa chocolate has really got me interested because I'm not a huge iris fan, and I'm not a huge gourmand fan, but for some reason in my mind, I've tried to formulate what this combination of iris and chocolate cocoa would do, and it's basically stimulated my curiosity in such a way that I'm really keen to get my nose on this and then allow myself to make up my mind about whether I actually like it or not. I'm still a bit wary about brands that charge a lot, these kind of prices for these perfumes. I'm assured that there are reasons behind it, and that the quality of the materials are such, but we'll have to take people's word for that. So that's Melt My Heart by Strangelove NYC. The next perfume that I'm very curious to sample is from Floris London. It's a 2024 release, and it is Floris Santal Intense. The reason I want to smell this is because years ago I did a review of Gucci Envy for Men, which I really enjoyed. And if you do enough research, Gucci Envy for Men is one of those scents that has become a real regrettable discontinuation. It had so many fans, and understandably so, because having been able to experience it myself via a sample, I can see why it smells really good and why it's so unique in the current designer landscape. So I happened to discover and also be recommended the fact that Floris Santal, their original Santal, had some striking similarities to Gucci Envy Men. And when I did smell Floris Santal, I definitely picked that up as well, although I was never able to do a direct comparison between the two. And I actually came very close to buying a bottle of Santal, and then I ordered it online. I actually ordered it online and then got an email saying that they were out of stock, and I haven't bothered since because really shortly after that, Floris released Santal Intense. From all reports, it still smells pretty good, slightly more concentrated than the original one. Some reviews report that it's a bit more thicker and longer lasting on the skin, which is one drawback I had from the original Santal that Floris had. So that's one I really want to sample down the track. I'm sure that one will be probably one of the easier ones to try compared to others on this list. The next one in that vein is an unusual one for me because I've kind of avoided really sampling this house or this brand. It's Louis Vuitton fragrances. Again, an expensive line. But the reason I want to smell imagination from this line in particular is because, and it's purely, this one is purely a curiosity because I look at reviews on all the main fragrance databases for this perfume, Imagination, and you look at the note breakdown and that kind of really doesn't tell any story because if you look at the note breakdown of this perfume, it seems like it's a kind of pretty standard citrus cologne style composition based on that. And we all know note pyramids are not reliable at the best of times. But almost very, very consistently, this gets really, really high ratings by users on these databases. And that in itself has got me very curious to try this perfume because I'm wondering what makes this particular scent profile better than the thousands of other similar scent profiles out there, and the fact that it is the price that it is for that type of perfume, I would be smelling this with quite a bit of expectation about it. So if you're watching this and you have experience with Louis Vuitton Imagination, I would really like to hear your thoughts as to why it would be so highly rated. The next on my list, I think I've got two more. Yes, two more, is from the opposite end of the spectrum in terms of visibility, exposure. Artisanal indie perfumer Darren Allen. The first perfume that he released, I believe, back in the late 90s was a perfume called Sheep No. 1. And the reason that I got interested in trying this perfume is really based off one review from Base Notes. And I'm going to link that review in my description. The person who wrote this review also has a YouTube channel, Varanus Ridari, Derek, and I'll link to his channel as well. He does the most in-depth, detailed reviews of perfumes, and this one review alone made me really want to smell this particular scent, Sheep No. 1. From what I can gather, based off what I read, it is a really well-constructed homage to classical vintage sheepers that are really just hard to find these days. And it's also good to know that something like that exists in a modern version, and I guess it would be really good, especially for people like me who just don't have the inclination or willingness to go hunting for vintage fragrances. It's actually a whole other world for me. I'm not that interested, but I am definitely interested to see what a modern perfumer can do in that particular realm. So I'm curious to smell it. Even if it might not be original, it's good to know that someone can still create something of that quality with what is available to them now. My final fragrance on this particular list is, okay, so the main reason that I really want to smell this, even if I may never own a bottle, even if I like it and may never get a chance to own a bottle, the first and foremost reason is it's composed by one of my all-time favourite perfumers, that is Christopher Sheldrake, famous for everything he's done with Serge Lutens. He collaborated with photographer, visual artist Roberto Greco to make Roch, and it is unfortunately, when it was released, I think it was limited to 500 bottles only. I came very close to pulling the trigger when it was still available on Lucky Scent, but it would have been probably the most expensive blind buy I'd ever made at that point, and I think I hesitated. Now, I still kind of regret, well, I have more regrets that I wasn't able to smell it, and I'm a bit peeved about this limited edition culture that is part of the fragrance industry these days, particularly with some indie brands do it more than others, and I guess I can understand why they would do it, but also it kind of creates this artificial sense of elitism within fragrance circles, and what people can own. That's a personal opinion, and I don't think it's wrong or right objectively. But if brands want to do it, that's fine, and it's worked in this case because it's created a market want or a shortage, and I know for a fact that I've spoken to several people who really kind of regret not buying it when it was available as well. I may smell this and just be a little bit underwhelmed, but over 90% of things I've read about it, and particularly from people whose taste I'm familiar with and trust, really sing its praises. So at the very least, I wouldn't mind just smelling it, and then obviously I would make up my own mind as to whether it's worth owning a bottle of Roch by Roberto Greco in collaboration with Christopher Sheldrake. That's my wish list for smelling. I'd really like to hear everyone's opinions if you've smelled any of these perfumes, and let me know. Maybe I can be convinced to just forget about them and move on to something else. It's not like there isn't thousands of things that I could be smelling. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.